We'll be with you here in just a minute. Internet's been a lot of fun today down here in Florida. Give me 1 second here. Okay, it's out. Okay, how's everybody doing? So the National Hurricane Center just went back to, the hurricanes just went back to Cat 5, which was expected in the forecast. So basically today, as it weakened to 4, it jogged southeast, and so it's making the hurricane take a little bit more southerly track for right now. But anyway, it's a major Cat 5. It's a Cat 5 again. It's going to probably stay there overnight tonight and tomorrow morning. And then as it approaches, it'll weaken a little bit after it passes the Gulf Stream back to Cat 4, mid-Cat 4 range. Still, everything's basically on track. There's not a lot that's changed. It's still going to produce a catastrophic storm surge. It's still going to have 10 to 15 foot. This is a 4 p.m. advisory. 1 to 3 feet up in the Big Bend, 3 to 5 up north of Tampa there. And then 10 to 15 in the Tampa Bay area, all the way down to Charlotte Harbor. Now it's 8 to 12. Down a little bit further south of Inglewood, down to Botana Beach, 8 to 12, 5 to 8. Farther south, 3 to 5, all the way down toward Naples and south of Naples. So basically everything's still on track. If you want to really cut hairs and get really super nitty gritty, the models have been fluctuating back and forth all day, overnight tonight, last night. Basically the hurricane's back to 923 millibars. They're saying winds are about 145. It's getting back to Cat 5 as we speak. Another Hurricane Hunter's on the way, be there shortly. Basically, it's going to stay Cat 5, high Cat 4 over the next 24 hours. As it approaches the west coast of Florida, there'll be a slight, it'll encounter, starts getting some shear, but it still is going to be a major category 3, maybe a high 3, and we'll go into a little bit more details what the models are trying to imply. But anyway, large greater inundation greater than 10 feet along the western coast of Florida. That's still pretty much on track. Extreme storm surge warning and life-threatening situations unfolding will be tomorrow. Like another time to leave home on Wednesday, so things really start going downhill pretty quick. Devastating hurricane force winds along the western coast of Florida. Hurricane warnings in effect. The hurricane's going to move across the state of Florida as a hurricane, even a Cat 2 as you go south of Orlando. So it's still going to be a major hurricane across the state, at least the western half. Catastrophic rain, life-threatening flash flooding on the north side of the hurricane. So all that's pretty much the same. Let's go into here to the track. And let's go back over here and let's go in here to the interactive map. Let's put the track on there, and this is zoom on down here pretty tight. It's a major back southwest, major, still major. And if you want to be cutting hairs here, it was just north of Sarasota, 5 miles, 10 miles on the earlier deal. Now it's like just over Sarasota on the south side of Sarasota. This is going to be valid for 1 a.m. That's going to be 1 a.m. Thursday morning. It's basically, they've got it at high Cat 3, 135 knots. It's basically going to be, let me look at another map here. I want to say it's 125 miles an hour, sustained gust to 155. Okay, so that's their new update. So it's a little bit later. It's going to be after midnight, which I don't like those kind of deals because the risk is really bad. Let me show you something else that's happened today. Let's go over here to the satellite. You look at the eye. The eyes went just totally ballistic in the last couple hours. It's going back to pinhole eye. It's got that big stadium effect. The eye shrinking. The last word I heard from the hurricane hunters, they were below 10 miles, 10 nautical miles. They reported about an hour ago as the hurricane hunter entered the eye, reported there was violent mesovortexes in the eye wall, which is basically kind of like small intense tornadoes in the eye wall. They saw several of them on the Doppler radar on the hurricane hunter, which is to be expected. Gradient right now continues, pressure's falling. So now let's go over to the models. And again, I'm not going to get too hung up because really soon, probably by tomorrow morning, we're going to see the the hurricane basically at, we're going to see the hurricane basically at off the Key West radar, and then also eventually the Tampa radar as we get during the day tomorrow. So we'll start just tracking it live, and so we don't have to worry about what the models show or just watch the satellite and Hurricane Hunter says. So basically, let's go down to 10 meter winds here. So basically, this is the B model, which has actually done the best of all the hurricane models, global models. It's a high resolution model. It updates every 6 hours. So every time the Hurricane Hunter ingests, so it's back up to this morning. So overnight last night, when it went from Cat 5 back to Cat 4, every time the Hurricane Hunter puts new data via satellite and the drop zones into the model constantly gets updated and refreshed from the hurricane drop zones. So it injected, saw it weaken last night, right, overnight, and the pressure came back up, 30, 40 millibars, is like 935 roughly, from like an 897 yesterday. So it sees that, and the model reruns and says, okay, if you're at this strength, at this location, I think you're going to do this. Well, what it did is it was very interesting what it did. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But basically, the A and the B model, the HERF model and the HERMON are almost all on top of each other, kind of making landfall at St. Petersburg, right? Like the mouth of the southwest edge of the base of Tampa, right? Which is interesting. So if you're running down here, they basically keep it a 5, and then it right before landfall, it starts weakening. It gets up to like 940, 943, and the winds are they're in that pretty interesting wind load there. It's interesting. That's not loading for me. Let's go down here. Let me look at something here. It's just kind of like to look at 850, just kind of give it a little bit better idea. So this is like at 21Z, so it's fairly fast on it, and that's 7 o'clock tomorrow, right? It looks like it's going to come in back south here, and this is this morning's run. Let me make sure you guys 12Z. So this is 850. It's not 10 meter, but I'll jump that in a minute. But basically what I'm trying to show the 850 for you is just basically this is what the models were doing this morning. 950, 63, it's high Cat 2, low Cat 3. It's basically coming here on the southwest corner here. You can kind of see the idea, right? So this is the B model. So the A model, and it's going to take the same time, same everything. See how all the models are basically at the same time. This is at 1 a.m. This is at 10 a.m. 10 p.m. and then 1 a.m. You see how the models are all on top of each other right there. So the A and B are saying, you know what? I think I'm going to be at this intensity at this time, this landfall. Here's the HERMON. HERMON is very intense. The HERMON is almost a high Cat 4. Again, this is this morning's data. It was back down to a Cat 4. This morning. So let's look at this. So this morning's run, valid for 7 p.m. tomorrow. This is 10 meter winds. This is surface, right? 10 meter wind knots, 931 pressure. Okay, that's intense. That's a Cat 5. Max winds 132, basically 132 knots. So you got a Cat 5 setting, about 100 miles roughly off the coast at 7 p.m. This is a HERMON. But what I'm trying to show you is that the models overnight, I'm very, very impressed. Instead of one being up north and then one here and one here, they all squeeze together and say, you know what? We're going to make a landfall right there, kind of in the mouth of just southwest of Tampa Bay, just northwest Tampa Bay, over St. Petersburg area. And they all have it in that same general area, like St. Pete Beach, 10 to 1 o'clock in the morning, somewhere near St. Pete Beach. So overnight runs really agree pretty good. One has a Cat 3, one has a Cat 4, one has a high Cat 4, just came from a Cat 5 back down to a high 4. So they're all in really good agreement. And so when you look at this, you're like, you know what? This kind of makes a lot of sense, right? So what's going to happen? Here's the HERF-WRF model. That's at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. It's probably between St. Petersburg and that area. And see here if I got knocked off, but I did.